I love you, Adrian. 3 words. 2 years of silence. One confession that shattered everything. Lily Carter stood in her boss's office, heart pounding, waiting for the man she'd worshipped from the shadows to finally see her. Instead, Adrian Vale, billionaire, power broker, and the most dangerous man she'd ever known, looked at her like she'd just spilled coffee on his desk. "You're dismissed, Miss Carter." Not rejected, dismissed, like her love was nothing more than an inconvenient memo. But this story doesn't end with a broken heart. It ends with a war. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. The elevator doors slid open on the 47th floor of Vale Industries, and Lily Carter stepped into the pristine corridor with the same practiced composure she'd worn like armor for 2 years. Marble floors reflected the soft glow of recessed lighting. Everything about this place screamed power, precision, control. Everything about Adrian Vale's world was designed to intimidate, and Lily had learned to navigate it perfectly. Her heels clicked in rhythmic precision as she approached the double doors of the executive suite, her leather portfolio tucked beneath one arm, her expression calm and professional. She'd mastered this walk. The posture, the detachment. No one who looked at her, sleek navy dress, hair pulled into a flawless twist, would guess that beneath the surface, her heart had been breaking in slow motion for 24 months. She pushed through the doors into the outer office, her domain. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Manhattan skyline, the city sprawling beneath them like a kingdom. And in the office beyond those glass walls sat the king. Adrian Vale. Lily set her portfolio on her desk, fingers trembling slightly as she powered on her computer. She didn't let herself look toward his office yet. Not yet. She needed a moment to steady herself, to remind herself why today was different. Today, she was going to tell him. The thought sent a spike of adrenaline through her chest, equal parts terror and exhilaration. For 2 years, she'd kept her feelings buried beneath professionalism and loyalty. For 2 years, she'd watched him command boardrooms, dismantle competitors, and build an empire, all while pretending she didn't notice the way his jaw tightened when he was deep in thought, or the rare flicker of humor that softened his dark eyes when something amused him. For 2 years, she'd been invisible, but not anymore. Her phone buzzed, a text from Adrian's private line. "My office. Now." Lily's stomach flipped. She grabbed her tablet and crossed the space between their offices, knocking once before entering. Adrian didn't look up. He sat behind his massive desk, the skyline framing him like a portrait of modern power. Dark suit, perfectly tailored. Black hair, slightly disheveled from running his hands through it. A rare crack in his otherwise impeccable presentation. He was reading something on his screen, his expression unreadable. "Close the door," he said without looking at her. Lily obeyed, her pulse quickening. She'd been in this office 1,000 times, but today it felt different, smaller, more suffocating. "The Hong Kong deal closed an hour ago," Adrian said, still focused on his screen. "I need you to draft a press release. Keep it vague. Emphasize the partnership. Downplay the acquisition. Send it to PR by 3. "Of course." Lily's voice was steady, professional. She made a note on her tablet. "Anything else?" "The Singapore team wants a call tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. our time. Clear my schedule." "Already done." Finally, Adrian looked up. His gaze locked onto hers, and for a moment the air between them shifted. It always did. That brief electric connection that Lily had convinced herself wasn't one-sided. The way his eyes lingered just a fraction too long. The way his voice softened when he spoke to her, even when he was delivering orders. Or maybe she'd imagined it all. "You're efficient as always, Miss Carter," Adrian said, leaning back in his chair. There was something in his tone, approval, maybe, or just acknowledgement. It was impossible to tell with him. "Thank you, sir." The formality felt like a knife between them. "Sir?" As if they were strangers, as if she hadn't spent 2 years learning the cadence of his moods, the weight of his silences, the rare moments when his guard dropped, and she glimpsed the man beneath the armor. Adrian's gaze flicked back to his screen. "That's all." Lily didn't move. Her heart was hammering now, her carefully rehearsed words rising in her throat. This was it. The moment she'd been building toward for weeks. The moment she'd decided she couldn't keep living in the shadow of her own cowardice. "Actually," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "There's something I need to say." Adrian's fingers paused over his keyboard. He looked up slowly, one dark brow arching. "Something work-related?" "No." The single word hung in the air between them, heavy and dangerous. Adrian's expression didn't change, but Lily saw the shift in his posture, the subtle stiffening of his shoulders, the way his jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Miss Carter, I love you." The words tumbled out before she could stop them, raw and unfiltered. Lily's hands clenched at her sides, her entire body trembling with the weight of the confession. She'd imagined this moment 100 different ways, but none of her fantasies had prepared her for the reality of it, the vulnerability, the exposure, the terrifying certainty that there was no taking it back. Adrian went completely still. For a long moment he just stared at her, his expression unreadable. Then he stood, slowly, and rounded the desk. He stopped a few feet away, close enough that Lily could see the flecks of gray in his dark eyes, the faint shadow of stubble along his jaw. "Say that again," he said quietly. Lily forced herself to meet his gaze, even though every instinct screamed at her to run. "I love you, Adrian. I've loved you for 2 years. I know it's inappropriate. I know I'm just your secretary, but I can't—" Her voice cracked. "I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way." Adrian's jaw worked, his eyes narrowing slightly. For a fleeting second, Lily thought she saw something flicker in his expression, surprise maybe, or something deeper, something that made her hope. But then his face hardened. "You're mistaken," he said, his voice cold and clinical. Lily flinched as if he'd struck her. "I'm not—" "You are." Adrian took a step back, putting distance between them. His hands slipped into his pockets, his posture shifting into something formal, detached. "What you're feeling isn't love, Miss Carter. It's proximity. You've spent 2 years working closely with me, and you've mistaken professional admiration for something it's not." "That's not true." "It is." His voice cut through hers like a blade. "You're an exceptional assistant, Lily. You're sharp, reliable, and discreet. But that's all this is. A professional relationship, nothing more." The words hit her like an avalanche, crushing the fragile hope she'd been clinging to. Lily's throat tightened, her vision blurring with unshed tears. She'd prepared herself for rejection, but not this. Not the cold, systematic dismantling of her feelings as if they were nothing more than a clerical error. "I see," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Adrian's expression didn't soften. "I'm not interested in entertaining misguided infatuations, Miss Carter. You're a valued member of my team, and I'd prefer to keep it that way. I suggest you take the rest of the day to collect yourself. We'll continue as normal tomorrow." Misguided infatuation. The phrase echoed in Lily's mind, each syllable twisting like a knife. She'd laid her heart bare, and he'd reduced it to an inconvenience, a distraction, something to be managed and dismissed. "Understood," Lily said, her voice hollow. She turned and walked toward the door, her legs moving on autopilot. She didn't trust herself to say anything else. If she stayed another second, she'd fall apart, and she refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. "Miss Carter," Lily stopped, her hand on the door handle. She didn't turn around. "This doesn't change anything," Adrian said. "You're still the best assistant I've ever had. I need you here. Don't let this lapse in judgment interfere with your work." Lily's fingers tightened on the handle. Lapse in judgment. As if loving him was the mistake she'd made, like a typo in a contract. "Of course, sir," she said, and walked out. "Yeah." Lily made it to her apartment before the tears came. She collapsed onto her couch, still in her work clothes, and let the sobs rack her body. 2 years. 2 years of hope, of quiet devotion, of convincing herself that maybe, just maybe, Adrian Vale saw her as more than an employee. And in less than 5 minutes, he'd shattered that illusion completely. Her phone buzzed. A text from her best friend Mara. "Drinks tonight? You sound like you need them." Lily stared at the message, her vision still blurred with tears. She didn't have the energy to explain what had happened. Not yet. But Mara was right. She needed to get out of her apartment before she drowned in her own misery. Yes, badly. The bar was crowded, loud, and exactly what Lily needed. She sat across from Mara in a corner booth, nursing a glass of wine and trying to ignore the pitying look on her friend's face. "Let me get this straight," Mara said, leaning forward. "You finally told him, and he called it a misguided infatuation?" Lily winced. Hearing the words out loud made them sting even more. "Essentially." "What an asshole. He's not—" Lily stopped herself. What was she doing? Defending him? After what he'd said? She shook her head. "You're right. He is." Mara reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Lily, you deserve so much better than that. You've wasted 2 years on a man who doesn't appreciate you. It's time to move on." "I know." Lily took a long sip of wine, the bitter taste matching her mood. I really thought he felt the same way. There were moments when I was sure he didn't," Mara said firmly. "And even if he did, he's too much of a coward to admit it. Either way, he's not worth it." Lily wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Maybe Mara was right. Maybe she'd spent 2 years chasing a fantasy, seeing things that weren't there. "You need a distraction," Mara said, her eyes lighting up. "Someone who'll actually appreciate you. Someone who'll treat you like you matter." "I'm not ready." "Yes, you are," Mara grinned. "And lucky for you, I know just the guy." Lily didn't expect to like Daniel Hayes. When Mara introduced them a week later at a gallery opening, Lily had been prepared to smile politely and make an excuse to leave early. She wasn't ready to date, wasn't ready to let anyone close. Her heart was still bruised, still aching from Adrian's rejection. But Daniel made it easy. He was charming without being overbearing, funny without trying too hard. He had warm brown eyes and an easy smile, and when he asked her about her work, he actually listened to her answers. He didn't dominate the conversation or treat her like an accessory. He treated her like she mattered. For the first time in weeks, Lily felt seen. "So," Daniel said as they stood in front of a particularly abstract painting, "what do you think this one's about?" Lily tilted her head, studying the chaotic swirls of color. "I think the artist had a lot of feelings and no idea how to process them." Daniel laughed. "Relatable." She smiled despite herself. It felt strange, smiling. She hadn't done much of it lately. "Can I take you to dinner?" Daniel asked, his tone casual but hopeful. Lily hesitated. Every instinct told her to say no, to protect herself from the risk of getting hurt again. But then she thought of Adrian's cold dismissal, the way he'd reduced her feelings to an inconvenience. "Yes," she said, "I'd like that." The first date turned into a second, then a third. Within a month, Lily and Daniel were seeing each other regularly. He took her to nice restaurants, sent her flowers at work, and called just to hear her voice. He was attentive, considerate, and safe. Safe. That was the word that kept echoing in Lily's mind. Daniel was safe. He didn't make her pulse race or her heart ache. He didn't consume her thoughts or leave her breathless with longing. But maybe that was a good thing. Maybe safety was what she needed. Passion had only brought her pain. One evening, as they walked through Central Park after dinner, Daniel stopped beneath a street lamp and turned to her. "Lily," he said, his voice serious, "I know we haven't been together long, but I need you to know. I'm falling for you. Hard." Lily's chest tightened. She liked Daniel, she did. But love? She wasn't sure she was capable of that anymore, not after Adrian. "I care about you too," she said carefully. Daniel smiled, relief washing over his face. He pulled her into his arms and Lily let herself lean into the embrace. It was warm, comfortable, safe, but it wasn't enough. 3 months after her confession to Adrian, Lily was still working at Vale Industries. She'd considered quitting 1,000 times, but every time she drafted a resignation letter, she couldn't bring herself to send it. The truth was, she loved her job. She loved the challenge, the responsibility, the sense of purpose it gave her. And despite everything, she couldn't imagine working for anyone else. So she stayed. She and Adrian had settled into a careful professional rhythm. They didn't talk about what had happened. They didn't acknowledge the tension that still simmered beneath the surface. They just worked. And Lily told herself she was fine, until the day Daniel proposed. It happened on a Friday evening at the same restaurant where they'd had their first date. Daniel got down on one knee, pulled out a velvet box, and asked her to marry him. Lily stared at the ring, a modest but elegant diamond, and felt Nothing. No joy, no excitement, just a hollow numbness. But Daniel was looking at her with so much hope, so much love, that she couldn't bring herself to say no. He was good to her. He made her feel valued, and maybe, if she gave it time, she could learn to love him the way he deserved. "Yes," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniel's face lit up. He slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her, and Lily closed her eyes, willing herself to feel something, anything, other than the emptiness gnawing at her chest. Once said, Monday morning, Lily walked into Vale Industries with the ring on her finger. She hadn't planned to wear it to work. In fact, she'd almost left it in her jewelry box at home. But at the last minute, she'd slipped it on, telling herself it didn't matter. Adrian wouldn't notice. And even if he did, he wouldn't care. She was wrong. Lily was at her desk, sorting through emails, when Adrian's door opened. He stepped into the outer office, a folder in hand, and stopped mid-stride. His gaze dropped to her left hand. The air shifted. Lily's heart stuttered as she watched his expression change. Just a flicker, but enough. His jaw tightened, his eyes darkened. For a split second, she saw something raw and unguarded in his face. Then it was gone. "Miss Carter," he said, his voice clipped. "My office. Now." Lily's stomach dropped. She followed him inside, the door clicking shut behind her. Adrian set the folder on his desk and turned to face her, his arms crossed. His gaze locked onto the ring, and for a long moment, he said nothing. "You're engaged," he said finally. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Lily said, her voice steady despite the pounding of her heart. Adrian's jaw worked. "To whom?" "Daniel Hayes. He's an architect." "I didn't ask what he does. I asked who he is." Lily bristled at the sharpness in his tone. "He's someone who values me. Someone who sees me as more than just an employee." The words were a blade, and they hit their mark. Adrian's expression darkened, his hands clenching at his sides. "Take it off," he said quietly. Lily blinked. "Excuse me?" "The ring." His voice was low, dangerous. "Take it off." "I'm not taking it off." "You are." Adrian took a step closer, his gaze burning into hers. "Because you're not marrying him, Lily. You're marrying me." The world tilted. Lily stared at him, her mind struggling to process what he'd just said. "What?" "You heard me." Adrian's voice was calm now, but there was a fire beneath it, something fierce and unyielding. "You're not going to marry some safe, boring architect who'll spend the rest of his life boring you to death. You're going to marry me." Lily's chest tightened, anger and confusion warring inside her. "You—" She laughed bitterly. "You rejected me. You called my feelings a misguided infatuation. And now you think you can just— I was wrong." The confession hung in the air between them, raw and unvarnished. Adrian ran a hand through his hair, his composure cracking. "I was wrong, Lily. I pushed you away because I thought it was the right thing to do. I thought you'd be safer without me, but I can't." His voice broke. "I can't watch you marry someone else." Lily's breath caught. For 2 years, she'd waited to hear him say something, anything, that proved he felt the same way. And now, when it was too late, he was giving her everything she'd ever wanted. "You don't get to do this," she said, her voice shaking. "You don't get to break my heart and then waltz back in when it's convenient for you." "I'm not asking for convenience," Adrian said, his voice rough. "I'm asking for a chance. I'm asking you to choose me." "Why now?" Lily demanded. "Why not 3 months ago? Why not when I stood in this office and told you I loved you?" "Because I was a coward." Adrian's gaze held hers, unflinching. "I was afraid of what loving you would mean, afraid of what it would cost. But I'm not afraid anymore, Lily. I'm done pretending I don't need you." Lily's hands trembled. She wanted to believe him, but the fear was still there, the memory of his rejection still fresh. "I don't know if I can trust you," she whispered. Adrian stepped closer, his hand reaching out to cup her cheek. "Then let me prove it." And before she could respond, he kissed her. The world disappeared. Lily's mind screamed at her to pull away, to protect herself, but her body betrayed her. She kissed him back, her hands clutching his shirt as 2 years of longing poured into that single, devastating moment. When they finally broke apart, both of them breathless, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. "Choose me," he whispered. "Please." Lily closed her eyes, her heart fracturing all over again. Because for the first time in her life, she didn't know what to choose. Lily pulled away from Adrian's kiss like she'd been burned, her hand flying to her lips. Her chest heaved with ragged breaths, her mind spinning with the weight of what had just happened. The taste of him still lingered, dark, intoxicating, dangerous. Everything she'd tried to forget. "This is wrong," she whispered, taking another step back. Her shoulders hit the edge of his desk, trapping her. "I'm engaged, Adrian. I'm wearing another man's ring." Adrian's eyes were wild, darker than she'd ever seen them. His hands flexed at his sides like he was physically restraining himself from reaching for her again. "Then take it off." "I can't just—" "You can." He moved closer, closing the distance she'd tried to create. "You can take it off right now and end this charade." "You don't love him, Lily. You love me." The words should have felt like vindication. For 2 years, she'd dreamed of hearing Adrian Vale admit that he knew, that he'd always known, how she felt. But now, standing here with Daniel's ring heavy on her finger and Adrian's confession hanging between them, all she felt was torn apart. "You don't get to tell me what I feel," Lily said, her voice shaking with anger. "You had your chance, Adrian. You looked me in the eye and called my love a mistake. You made me feel like I was nothing." Pain flashed across Adrian's face, brief but unmistakable. "I know, and I will regret that moment for the rest of my life." "Regret isn't enough." "Then what is?" Adrian's voice dropped to a rough whisper. "Tell me what I need to do, Lily. Tell me how to fix this." Lily's throat tightened. She wanted to scream at him, to make him hurt the way she'd hurt. But beneath the anger, there was something else. A traitorous part of her heart that had never stopped belonging to him, no matter how hard she'd tried to bury it. "I need time," she said finally. "I need to think." Adrian's jaw clenched, but he nodded. "How much time?" "I don't know." Lily pushed past him, heading for the door. Her hands were trembling so badly she could barely grip the handle. "I need to go." "Lily?" She didn't turn around. If she looked at him again, she'd crumble. "I'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about this later." She fled the office before he could respond, her heels clicking frantically against the marble floor. She didn't stop until she reached the elevator, punching the button repeatedly as if that would make it arrive faster. When the doors finally slid open, she stepped inside and sagged against the wall, her composure shattering. What had she done? She'd kissed Adrian. She'd kissed her boss, the man who'd rejected her 3 months ago, while wearing another man's engagement ring. The guilt crashed over her in waves, mixing with confusion and a desperate, aching longing she couldn't suppress. Her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Dinner tonight? I made reservations at that Italian place you love?" Lily stared at the message, her vision blurring with tears. Daniel. Sweet, stable Daniel, who'd never made her doubt his feelings for a single moment. Who'd proposed to her with such hope in his eyes. Who deserved so much better than a fiancé who'd just kissed another man? She should tell him. She should confess everything and let him make his own choice about whether to forgive her. But the thought of seeing the hurt in his eyes, of breaking his heart the way Adrian had broken hers, made her stomach twist with nausea. "Sounds perfect. See you at 7. She sent the text and hated herself for it. Dinner with Daniel was torture. He was in a good mood, talking animatedly about a new project at work, some luxury high-rise he was designing downtown. He reached across the table to hold her hand, his thumb brushing over her engagement ring with unconscious affection. Every touch felt like an accusation. "You're quiet tonight," Daniel said, his brow furrowing with concern. "Everything okay?" Lily forced a smile. "Just tired. Long day at work." "Oh, your boss still running you ragged?" The mention of Adrian made her chest tighten. "Something like that." Daniel squeezed her hand. "You work too hard, Lil. Maybe after the wedding, you should think about finding something less demanding. You don't need to burn yourself out for some corporate tyrant who doesn't appreciate you." The words stung more than he knew. Lily pulled her hand back, reaching for her wine glass. "I like my job." "I know you do. I'm just saying you have options now. You don't have to. Daniel. Lily set her glass down harder than she'd intended. I'm not quitting my job. He blinked, clearly taken aback by her tone. Okay, I didn't mean to upset you. I just want you to be happy. Guilt flooded through her. Daniel wasn't the enemy here. He was trying to take care of her, to build a future with her. And what was she doing? Fantasizing about a man who'd made her feel worthless. Except Adrian hadn't made her feel worthless in his office today. He'd made her feel wanted, needed, like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. I'm sorry, Lily said quietly. I didn't mean to snap. You're right. I am tired. Daniel's expression softened. He reached for her hand again, and this time she let him take it. Let's get you home. You need rest. But rest was the last thing Lily got that night. She lay in bed for hours, staring at the ceiling, replaying Adrian's words over and over in her mind. You're not marrying him. You're marrying me. The arrogance of it should have infuriated her. Instead, it made her pulse race. She thought about the kiss, the way Adrian had looked at her like she was something precious, something he couldn't afford to lose, the desperation in his voice when he'd asked her to choose him. But then she thought about Daniel, kind, steady Daniel who'd never played games with her heart, who'd never made her question her worth or wonder if she mattered. Who'd given her everything she thought she wanted, security, affection, a future free from uncertainty, safety. That word again. It echoed in her mind, hollow and unsatisfying. Her phone lit up on the nightstand. A text from an unknown number. I meant what I said. Every word. A. Lily's heart slammed against her ribs. She shouldn't respond. She should delete the message and block the number and pretend this whole mess had never happened. Instead, she typed back, You hurt me. The response came almost immediately. I know, let me make it right. How? Give me a chance to prove I'm not the coward who pushed you away. Let me show you what we could be. Lily closed her eyes, her thumb hovering over the screen. This was insane. She was engaged. She'd made a commitment to Daniel, and no matter how confused she felt, she owed him loyalty. But the traitorous part of her, the part that had loved Adrian Vale for 2 years, whispered that she owed herself the truth. I need time, she typed. Please respect that. The reply took longer this time. I'll wait, but not forever. Lily set the phone down and pulled the covers over her head, wishing she could disappear. The next morning, Lily walked into Vale Industries with her shoulders squared and her game face on. She'd made a decision during the sleepless hours before dawn. She would keep things professional with Adrian. No more emotional confrontations, no more stolen kisses. She would do her job, plan her wedding, and move forward with her life. It was a good plan. It lasted exactly 45 minutes. Lily was at her desk, reviewing Adrian's schedule for the week, when his door opened. He stepped into the outer office, impeccably dressed as always, but there was something different about him, a tension in his posture, a fire in his eyes. Miss Carter, he said, his voice formal, I need you to accompany me to a meeting this afternoon. Lily's fingers froze on her keyboard. She and Adrian attended meetings together all the time. It was part of her job, but something about the way he was looking at her made her pulse quicken. What meeting? She asked carefully. A potential acquisition, real estate development firm downtown. I'll need you to take notes. It sounded innocent enough. Professional. Exactly what she'd wanted. So why did it feel like a trap? Of course, Lily said. What time? 2 o'clock. We'll leave at 1:30. Adrian turned and walked back into his office without another word, leaving Lily staring after him with a knot of apprehension in her stomach. The car ride to the meeting was excruciating. Adrian sat beside her in the back of the town car, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something dark and woodsy that made her head spin. He didn't speak, didn't look at her, just stared out the window with that unreadable expression he wore like armor. Lily clutched her tablet in her lap, focusing on her breathing. In and out, calm and controlled, professional. You didn't sleep last night, Adrian said suddenly. Lily's head snapped toward him. What? You have shadows under your eyes. You always do when you don't sleep. His gaze slid to hers, penetrating. What kept you awake, Lily? The question was loaded with meaning. Lily's fingers tightened on her tablet. Work. Liar? The single word sent heat flooding through her. You don't know what I was thinking about. Don't I? Adrian shifted in his seat, angling his body toward hers. The space between them seemed to shrink. You were thinking about me, about what I said in my office yesterday, about the choice you're going to have to make. You're awfully sure of yourself. I'm sure of us. His voice dropped to a whisper. I've spent 2 years watching you, Lily, learning you. I know when you're lying, and right now you're lying to both of us. Lily's breath caught. She should argue. She should put him in his place and remind him that she was engaged, that this conversation was inappropriate, that he had no right to presume anything about her feelings. But the words wouldn't come, because he was right. The car pulled up in front of a sleek glass building, and Adrian's expression shifted back to business. He stepped out without waiting for the driver, leaving Lily to follow in his wake, her heart still pounding. The meeting was a blur. Lily took notes mechanically, barely registering the conversation happening around her. Adrian was in his element, sharp, commanding, utterly in control. He negotiated with the precision of a surgeon, dissecting every clause of the proposed deal until the other party had no choice but to agree to his terms. Watching him work had always done something to Lily. There was a raw power in the way he commanded a room, the way men twice his age deferred to his judgment, without question. He was a force of nature, and she'd always been caught in his orbit. But today it felt different. Every time his gaze flickered to her, every time he referenced her notes or asked for her input, it felt like a claiming, like he was showing the room and her exactly who she belonged to. The realization should have angered her. Instead, it made her ache. When the meeting finally ended, Adrian shook hands with the senior partners and led Lily back to the car. They rode in silence for several blocks before he spoke. You were distracted in there. Lily didn't deny it. I apologize. It won't happen again. I don't want an apology. Adrian's jaw tightened. I want you to stop running from this. I'm not. You are. He turned to face her fully, his eyes blazing. You're so afraid of getting hurt again that you're willing to settle for a man who will never make you feel the way I do. A man who will never challenge you, never push you, never see all the fire inside you and want to burn with it. Daniel is a good man, Lily said, her voice shaking. I'm not saying he isn't. I'm saying he's not the right man, not for you. And you are? Lily's anger finally broke through. The man who rejected me? Who made me feel like I was nothing? You think you're what I need? No. Adrian's voice was raw. I think I'm what you want, and that terrifies you. The truth of it hit Lily like a physical blow. She turned away, staring out the window as the city blurred past. This isn't fair. Love isn't fair, Lily. It's messy and complicated, and it ruins you for anyone else. Adrian's hand reached out, his fingers brushing her jaw, turning her face back to his. You think I don't know that? You think I haven't spent 3 months trying to convince myself I did the right thing by pushing you away? Lily's eyes burned with unshed tears. Then why did you? Because I was scared. The confession seemed to cost him. My world is dangerous, Lily. I've made enemies. People who wouldn't hesitate to use you against me if they knew how much you meant to me. I thought if I kept you at arm's length, if I made you hate me, you'd be safe. But I'm not safe now, Lily whispered. You've already made me love you. You can't unmake that. Adrian's thumb brushed away a tear that had escaped down her cheek. Then stop fighting it. Stop trying to build a life with someone else when your heart belongs to me. The car pulled up in front of Vale Industries. Lily should have pulled away, should have put distance between them. Instead, she found herself leaning into his touch, her eyes closing. I'm still wearing his ring, she said softly. I know. Adrian's voice was pained. But you won't be for much longer. He pulled away and stepped out of the car, leaving Lily alone with her shattered defenses and the terrible certainty that he was right. That evening, Daniel took her to dinner again. He'd been doing that a lot lately, making plans, talking about the wedding, discussing honeymoon destinations. He was excited, hopeful, building a future in his mind, and Lily was drowning in guilt. I was thinking Tuscany, Daniel said, scrolling through pictures on his phone. Or maybe the Amalfi Coast. Somewhere romantic. Somewhere we can just be together. Lily pushed her pasta around her plate, her appetite gone. That sounds nice. Daniel looked up, his expression dimming. You hate it. No, Lily. He set his phone down, reaching for her hand. Talk to me. You've been distant for days. Ever since I proposed, it's like you're somewhere else. The opening was there. She could tell him everything, about Adrian, about the kiss, about the terrible choice she was facing. She could give him the truth and let him decide if he still wanted to marry her. But when she opened her mouth, different words came out. I'm just stressed about work. There's a big acquisition happening, and it's taking up all my mental energy. I'm sorry I've been distracted. It wasn't entirely a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. Daniel's shoulders relaxed. You work too hard. Maybe we should move the wedding up. Get you out of that pressure cooker sooner. Panic flared in Lily's chest. Move it up? Why not? We could do something small, intimate. Just close friends and family. We don't need a big production. We just need each other. The walls were closing in. Lily pulled her hand back, reaching for her water glass. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? Because... She scrambled for a reason. Because I want our wedding to be special, not rushed. Daniel studied her for a long moment, and Lily saw the first flicker of doubt cross his face. Is there something you're not telling me? Yes, everything. No, I'm just overwhelmed. Can we talk about this later? He didn't look convinced, but he nodded. Okay. But Lily, if something's wrong, if you're having second thoughts, I need you to tell me. I can't marry someone who isn't all in. The irony wasn't lost on her. Daniel was asking for honesty while she sat across from him wearing his ring and tasting another man's kiss on her lips. I'm all in, she lied, and hated herself a little more. The week that followed was a special kind of hell. At work, Adrian was everywhere. He found reasons to pull her into meetings, to ask for her opinion, to stand just a little too close when they reviewed documents. He never crossed a line, never touched her inappropriately, or said anything that could be construed as unprofessional in front of others. But when they were alone, the mask came off. You're still wearing it, he said one afternoon, his gaze fixed on her engagement ring. Lily was filing contracts in his office, trying to ignore the weight of his stare. Yes. Why? Because I'm engaged. To the wrong man. Lily slammed the filing cabinet shut. You don't get to decide that. I'm not deciding anything. You are. Adrian stood, moving around his desk. Every day you wear that ring is a choice, Lily. A choice to pretend you don't feel what's between us. Maybe I don't want to feel it, she shot back. Maybe I want something stable, something that won't destroy me. I would never destroy you. You already did. The words burst out of her, raw and unfiltered. You destroyed me 3 months ago, Adrian, and now you want me to risk it again? To bet everything on a man who couldn't even admit he cared until someone else put a ring on my finger? Adrian flinched. I know I hurt you, but I'm here now, Lily. I'm fighting for you. That has to count for something. It counts for confusion, Lily whispered. It counts for sleepless nights and guilt and feeling like I'm being torn in half. Adrian moved closer, his hand reaching up to cup her face. Then choose me. End the confusion. Be with the man you actually love. Lily's eyes fluttered closed. I don't know if I can trust you not to break my heart again. Then let me earn your trust. His forehead pressed against hers. Give me a chance, Lily, please. The door to the outer office opened, and voices filtered through. Lily jerked back, putting distance between them, just as Adrian's assistant knocked. Mr. Vale? The conference call with Tokyo is ready. I'll be right there. Adrian's eyes never left Lily's face. We're not done with this conversation. Lily fled before she could do something stupid, like say yes. That night, Mara invited her out for drinks. Lily almost declined. She wasn't in the mood for company, but the alternative was sitting alone in her apartment, drowning in her own thoughts. Okay, spill, Mara said the moment they sat down. You look like you haven't slept in a week. I haven't. Is it Daniel? Wedding stress? Lily laughed bitterly. I wish it were that simple. Mara's eyes narrowed. What happened? And just like that, the dam broke. Lily told her everything. Adrian's rejection, the proposal, the kiss, the impossible choice she was facing. By the time she finished, Mara was staring at her with wide eyes. Holy shit, Mara breathed. Your boss is in love with you. I don't know if it's love, Lily said. Maybe it's just possessiveness. He didn't want me until someone else did. Or, Mara countered, he's been an idiot who finally pulled his head out of his ass. She leaned forward. Do you still love him? Lily's throat tightened. I never stopped. Then why are you still engaged to Daniel? Because Adrian had his chance. Lily's voice rose, drawing a few glances from nearby tables. She lowered it. He had his chance, and he threw it away. What if I choose him and he does it again? What if I give him everything and he decides I'm not worth the risk? What if you don't choose him? Mara said quietly, and you spend the rest of your life wondering what you missed? The question hung in the air, unanswered. 2 weeks after Adrian's confession, Daniel planned a surprise dinner with both their families. Lily arrived at the restaurant to find her parents sitting across from Daniel's, everyone smiling and excited. Her mother pulled her into a hug, gushing about wedding plans. Daniel's father clapped him on the back, making jokes about grandchildren. It was suffocating. Lily sat beside Daniel, feeling like a fraud. Every toast, every congratulation, every excited discussion about venues and flowers and cake felt like a lie. She was lying to Daniel, to their families, to herself. Halfway through dinner, she excused herself to the restroom. She locked herself in a stall and pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to breathe through the panic. Her phone buzzed, a text from Adrian. Where are you? Out with Daniel's family. Playing happy couple? Lily's fingers shook as she typed back. Please stop. I can't. Not when I know you're miserable. You don't know that. Don't I? Come to my office tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. If you still want to marry him after we talk, I'll never contact you again. Lily stared at the message, her heart racing. This was it, the moment of truth. She could delete the text, block his number, and commit fully to Daniel. Or she could meet Adrian one last time and risk everything. Her phone buzzed again. Please, Lily, one conversation. That's all I'm asking. She closed her eyes and made a choice. Okay, 8 o'clock. When she returned to the table, Daniel was watching her with concern. You okay? Lily forced a smile. Fine. Just needed some air. But as the evening wore on, filled with laughter and plans for a future she wasn't sure she wanted, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing on the edge of a cliff. And tomorrow night, she would either step back to safety or jump. The next day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Every hour felt like an eternity as Lily sat at her desk, pretending to work while her mind spun in endless circles. 8 o'clock. She'd agreed to meet Adrian at 8 o'clock, and the weight of that decision pressed down on her chest like a physical force. She'd told Daniel she had to work late. The lie had come easily, too easily, and the guilt of it sat bitter on her tongue. He'd kissed her goodbye that morning, completely unaware that his fiancée was planning to meet with another man. A man who'd kissed her. A man who'd demanded she choose him. A man she'd never stopped loving. At 6:30, the office began to empty. Colleagues called out goodbyes as they headed to the elevators, off to their normal lives with their uncomplicated relationships. Lily envied them. She stayed at her desk, watching the clock tick closer to the hour that would change everything. Adrian's door had been closed all afternoon. She knew he was in there. She'd seen him through the glass earlier, on a call. His expression intense and focused, but he hadn't emerged, hadn't acknowledged her presence. It was as if he was giving her space to make her choice without pressure. The consideration should have comforted her. Instead, it made her more anxious. At 7:45, Lily stood and walked to the restroom. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, taking in the shadows under her eyes, the tension in her jaw, the way her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the edge of the sink. She looked like a woman on the verge of shattering. Daniel's ring caught the fluorescent light, winking at her mockingly. She twisted it around her finger, the metal suddenly feeling too tight, too constricting. For weeks, she'd worn it as a shield, proof that she'd moved on, that she was choosing safety over the chaos Adrian represented. But it had never felt right. Lily closed her eyes, remembering the moment Daniel had proposed. The hope in his face, the certainty that she would say yes. And she had, because saying no would have required an honesty she wasn't ready to face. An admission that her heart had never been available in the first place. She'd been using Daniel, using his affection as a bandage for the wound Adrian had left, and that made her the worst kind of person. Her phone buzzed, a text from Adrian. "It's time." Lily's pulse spiked. She took one last look at her reflection, squared her shoulders, and walked out of the restroom. The office was nearly empty now, just a few late workers scattered across different floors. The executive level was silent, the lights dimmed for the evening. Adrian's door was open. Lily stepped inside and found him standing by the windows, his back to her, hands in his pockets. The city sprawled below them, a glittering sea of lights against the darkening sky. He didn't turn around when she entered, didn't acknowledge her presence. The silence stretched between them, heavy and charged. "Close the door," he said finally. Lily obeyed, the soft click echoing in the quiet. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she moved further into the room, stopping a few feet behind him. "I wasn't sure you'd come," Adrian said, his voice low. "I almost didn't." "But you did." He turned then, and the look in his eyes stole her breath, raw, vulnerable. Nothing like the controlled, commanding man the world saw. This was Adrian stripped bare, and it terrified her as much as it drew her in. "That means something." "It means I'm confused," Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It means I don't know what I want anymore." "Yes, you do." Adrian took a step closer. "You've always known. You're just afraid to admit it." Lily's hands clenched at her sides. "You're so certain you know what I want, but you don't get to decide this, Adrian. You don't get to—" "I'm not deciding anything." Another step. "I'm asking you to be honest. With me. With yourself." His gaze dropped to her left hand. "That ring doesn't belong on your finger, Lily. You know it. I know it. The only person you're lying to is yourself." "Daniel loves me," Lily said, but even she could hear the weakness in her defense. "I don't doubt that he does. But do you love him?" Adrian's question hung in the air like a blade. "Really love him? The way you love me?" Lily's breath caught. "I never said I still love you." "You didn't have to." Adrian closed the remaining distance between them, so close now she could feel the heat radiating from his body. "Your eyes say it every time you look at me. Your body says it every time I'm near you. You can lie with your words, Lily, but you can't lie with this." His hand reached up, fingers brushing the base of her throat where her pulse hammered visibly. The touch was feather light, but it sent electricity racing through her veins. Lily's eyes fluttered closed, a shaky breath escaping her lips. "I hate you for this," she whispered. "I know." Adrian's thumb traced her jawline. "Hate me all you want, but stop lying about what you feel." Lily's eyes snapped open, anger flaring. "You want honesty? Fine. Yes, I still love you. I've loved you for 2 years, and I hate that I can't stop. I hate that you rejected me, and I still want you. I hate that you're making me question everything when I was finally starting to move on." "You weren't moving on," Adrian said, his voice rough. "You were settling. There's a difference. Daniel's a good man." "I never said he wasn't." Adrian's hand dropped to his side, his jaw clenching. "But he's not the man you want to wake up next to for the rest of your life. He's not the man whose name you whisper when you think no one can hear. He's not the man who sets your blood on fire." "Maybe I don't want fire," Lily shot back. "Maybe I want peace, stability, a relationship that doesn't make me feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff." "Then why are you here?" The question was soft, devastating. "If you really wanted peace, you would have deleted my texts, ignored my calls, married Daniel without a second thought. But you're here, Lily, in my office, at night, alone with me. Why?" Lily's composure cracked. "Because I needed to hear you say it again. I needed to know if what you said before was real or just possessiveness, ego. You couldn't stand the thought of me belonging to someone else, so I what?" Adrian's voice rose, frustration bleeding through. "Decided to toy with you? Play games? You think that's what this is?" "I don't know what this is," Lily's voice broke. "You pushed me away, Adrian. You looked me in the eye and told me my feelings were a mistake. You made me feel like I was delusional for thinking you could ever want me. And now you expect me to just forget that? To trust that you won't do it again the moment things get difficult?" Adrian's expression shifted, pain flickering across his features. He turned away, running a hand through his hair. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter, more controlled. I told you why I pushed you away. I told you I was trying to protect you. From what? Lily demanded. From your enemies? Your dangerous world? That's a convenient excuse, Adrian. But the truth is, you were protecting yourself. You were afraid of what it would mean to let someone in, to care about someone more than your empire. The accusation hit its mark. Adrian's shoulders tensed, his hands curling into fists. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he turned back to her, and the raw honesty in his eyes made her chest ache. You're right, he said simply. Lily blinked, thrown off balance. What? You're right. Adrian took a step toward her. I was afraid, terrified actually, because caring about you meant giving you the power to destroy me. And in my world, that kind of vulnerability gets you killed. He paused, his gaze holding hers. But I'd rather risk everything with you than live safely without you. That's what I realized when I saw that ring on your finger. I realized I'd already given you the power to destroy me. Pushing you away didn't change that. It just made me a coward. Lily's throat tightened, tears burning behind her eyes. I don't want power over you, Adrian. I never did. I just wanted you to see me, to choose me. I see you. Adrian's voice was rough with emotion. I've always seen you, Lily. From the first day you walked into this office, I saw you. Smart, fierce, loyal, too good for the ugly world I live in. And that's why I kept my distance. Because I knew if I let myself have you, I'd never be able to let you go. A tear slipped down Lily's cheek. You don't get to say these things to me. Not when I'm engaged to someone else. Not when... Take it off. The command was quiet but absolute. Lily's breath hitched. Adrian, take off the ring, Lily. His eyes burned into hers. Right now. End this charade and choose what you really want. Lily's hand instinctively moved to cover the ring, protective. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. Adrian closed the distance between them, his presence overwhelming. You either love me or you don't. You either want a life with me or you want safety with him, but you can't have both. So choose. Lily's mind raced. This was it. The moment she'd been dreading and craving in equal measure. No more delays, no more excuses, just a choice that would define the rest of her life. What if I choose wrong? She whispered. There is no wrong choice. Adrian's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing away her tears. There's only honest and dishonest. Choose honestly, Lily, whatever that means. Lily closed her eyes, leaning into his touch despite herself. Every logical part of her brain screamed that she should walk away. Go back to Daniel, build the safe, predictable life they'd planned together. But her heart, her traitorous, stubborn heart, knew the truth. She'd made her choice the moment she'd walked through Adrian's door tonight. Slowly, Lily reached for her left hand. Her fingers trembled as they closed around Daniel's ring. For a moment, she hesitated, guilt and fear warring inside her. Then she thought about the life she'd been building, a life built on settling, on choosing comfort over passion, on pretending she could love Daniel the way he deserved. It wasn't fair to him, and it wasn't fair to herself. Lily pulled the ring off her finger. The relief was immediate and overwhelming. It was like a weight she hadn't realized she'd been carrying suddenly lifted from her chest. She stared at the ring in her palm, this symbol of a future she'd never truly wanted, and felt something inside her shift. I need to tell him, she said quietly. Daniel deserves to hear it from me, not from gossip or... I know. Adrian's voice was gentle. We'll do this the right way. You'll talk to him, end things properly. But Lily... He tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his gaze. Once you walk out of here tonight, there's no going back. If you choose me, you choose all of me. My world. My enemies. The danger that comes with being mine. I need you to understand that. I understand. Lily's voice was steady now, certain. I've always understood. That's not what scared me. Then what did? Losing you again. The confession came out raw and honest. I survived it once, Adrian. Barely. I don't think I could survive it a second time. Adrian's expression softened. He took the ring from her palm and set it on his desk, then pulled her into his arms. Lily went willingly, pressing her face against his chest, breathing in the scent of him. His heart beat steady and strong beneath her ear, grounding her. You won't lose me, Adrian murmured into her hair. Not unless you choose to walk away. And even then, I'm not sure I could let you go. Lily pulled back enough to look up at him. That's not romantic. That's borderline obsessive. A ghost of a smile touched Adrian's lips. I never claimed to be romantic. I'm possessive, demanding, and selfish when it comes to you, but I'm also yours, completely. If you'll have me. Lily's heart swelled. For 2 years, she dreamed of hearing Adrian say words like these. And now, standing in his arms with the city glittering below them, it felt surreal, like a dream she was afraid to wake from. I need time, she said. To talk to Daniel, to figure out how to... I'll give you time. Adrian's arms tightened around her. But Lily, I meant what I said. That ring doesn't go back on your finger. You're mine now. And I don't share. The possessiveness in his tone should have irritated her. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in her stomach. She'd forgotten this about Adrian, the way he commanded, the way he claimed. It was intoxicating and infuriating in equal measure. I'm not a possession, she said, even as her body betrayed her, pressing closer to his. No. Adrian's hand slid to the small of her back, holding her against him. You're mine. There's a difference. Before Lily could argue, he kissed her. This kiss was different from the first. Less desperate, more certain, acclaiming. Adrian kissed her like he had all the time in the world, like he was memorizing the taste of her, the feel of her. Lily melted into it, her hands fisting in his shirt as 2 years of longing crashed over her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. Tell him tomorrow, he said quietly. End it, then come back to me. Lily nodded, unable to form words. The reality of what she'd just done was starting to sink in, bringing with it a tidal wave of emotions. Relief, fear, guilt, exhilaration. She'd made her choice. There was no taking it back now. Adrian walked her to the elevator, his hand at the small of her back. The building was empty now, just the two of them in the dim corridor. When the elevator doors opened, Lily stepped inside and turned to face him. Adrian, she said as the doors started to close. What if he hates me? Adrian's expression was serious. He might. But that's the cost of choosing honestly. Some people will get hurt. But staying with him when you love someone else? That would hurt him more. The doors closed, and Lily leaned back against the wall, her legs suddenly weak. She looked down at her bare left hand, at the pale line where Daniel's ring had been. Tomorrow, she would break his heart. Tomorrow, she would destroy the safe future they'd planned together. But tonight, for the first time in months, she felt like she could breathe. Lily didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, rehearsing what she would say to Daniel. Every version sounded terrible. Every explanation felt inadequate. How did you tell someone you'd agreed to marry them while being in love with someone else? How did you ask for forgiveness when you knew you didn't deserve it? At 7 in the morning, she texted him. Can we meet for breakfast? I need to talk to you. His response came quickly. Sure. Everything okay? Lily stared at the message, her chest tight. No, nothing was okay. Everything was about to shatter. I'll explain when I see you. Meet me at the cafe on Lexington in an hour? I'll be there. Lily showered and dressed mechanically, her mind numb. She chose a simple blouse and jeans, nothing fancy. This wasn't a meeting that required armor, just honesty. Brutal, painful honesty. When she arrived at the cafe, Daniel was already there, sitting at their usual table by the window. He smiled when he saw her, standing to kiss her cheek. The familiar gesture made Lily's stomach twist with guilt. Hey, he said, pulling out her chair. You sounded serious in your text. What's going on? Lily sat, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She couldn't look at him, couldn't see the trust in his eyes, knowing she was about to destroy it. Daniel, she began, her voice shaking, I need to tell you something, and I need you to let me finish before you say anything. Daniel's smile faded. He sat back in his chair, his expression growing wary. Okay. Lily took a deep breath, forcing herself to meet his gaze. I can't marry you. The words hung in the air between them, stark and devastating. Daniel's face went pale, his eyes widening with shock. What? I can't marry you, Lily repeated, her voice steadier now. I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm so sorry, but I can't. Daniel stared at her like she'd just spoken a foreign language. I don't understand. Did I do something wrong? Did I? No. Lily's voice cracked. You did everything right. You've been nothing but kind and patient and wonderful. This isn't about you. It's about me. About you, Daniel repeated slowly. His hands clenched on the table. What does that mean? Lily forced herself to hold his gaze, to give him the honesty he deserved. It means I'm not in love with you. Not the way you deserve. Not the way you love me. Daniel flinched like she'd struck him. You said yes when I proposed. You wore my ring. You let me introduce you to my family as my fiancé. And now you're telling me you don't love me? I wanted to love you, Lily said desperately. I tried, Daniel. I really tried, but I can't make myself feel something that isn't there. Is there someone else? The question was quiet, but it cut through Lily like a knife. She could lie. She could tell him this was just about her own confusion, her own inadequacy. But he deserved the truth. Yes, she whispered. Daniel's jaw clenched. He looked away, staring out the window at the morning traffic. When he spoke again, his voice was tight with barely controlled anger. How long? It doesn't matter. How long, Lily? He turned back to her, his eyes hard. How long have you been in love with someone else while wearing my ring? Lily's hands trembled. Since before I met you. The confession landed like a bomb. Daniel's face went from pale to flushed, his hands curling into fists. So you were never really available. This whole time, the dates, the proposal, planning a future. You were just, what? Using me? As a distraction from someone else? I didn't mean to, Lily said, tears streaming down her face now. I thought I could move on. I thought if I gave us a chance, I could fall in love with you. You were everything I should have wanted, Daniel. Safe and stable and boring, Daniel finished bitterly. Compared to whoever this other guy is. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? Daniel stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Other patrons glanced over, but he didn't seem to care. You know what the worst part is? I knew. Deep down, I knew you were holding something back. But I convinced myself I was being paranoid. That if I just loved you enough, you'd eventually love me back the same way. Daniel, who is he? The question was sharp, demanding. Lily hesitated. It doesn't matter. Like hell it doesn't. Who is he, Lily? My boss, she said quietly. Daniel let out a harsh laugh. Your boss, the one you've been working late for, the one you insisted you couldn't quit working for even after we got engaged. He shook his head, disgust clear on his face. How long have you been sleeping with him? I haven't, Lily stood, her voice rising. I haven't slept with him, Daniel. I would never cheat on you like that. But you love him. You've loved him this whole time. That's not cheating? The accusation stung because it was true. She'd betrayed Daniel from the moment she'd said yes to his proposal while her heart belonged to someone else. I'm sorry, Lily said, her voice breaking. I never meant to hurt you. I thought I could make it work. I thought loving you would be enough. Well, it wasn't. Daniel pulled his wallet from his pocket, threw cash on the table, and turned to leave. Then he stopped, looking back at her one last time. I hope he's worth it, Lily. I hope he makes you happier than I ever could, because you just threw away something real for a man who, let me guess, finally decided he wanted you only after I put a ring on your finger. The words hit too close to home. Lily opened her mouth to defend Adrian, but Daniel held up a hand. Don't. Just don't. His expression was a mixture of pain and anger and something that looked like pity. I loved you, Lily. Really loved you. And you broke my heart for a guy who couldn't even commit until you belonged to someone else. I hope you don't regret this. He walked out of the cafe, leaving Lily standing alone among the curious stares of strangers. She sank back into her chair, her whole body shaking. The guilt was overwhelming, crushing. Daniel had been right about everything. She'd used him, led him on, broken his heart. And for what? For a man who might hurt her all over again? Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. How did it go? Lily stared at the message, Daniel's words echoing in her mind. I hope he's worth it. She didn't know if Adrian was worth destroying Daniel's faith in love. Didn't know if any man was worth the devastation she'd just caused. But she'd made her choice, and now she had to live with the consequences. "It's done," she typed back. "He hates me. Come to my place. I'll send you the address." Lily should have gone home, should have given herself time to process what had just happened, to sit with the guilt and the grief. But the thought of being alone with her thoughts was unbearable. She went to Adrian. The address Adrian sent led Lily to a building she'd never noticed before, a converted warehouse in Tribeca with industrial steel doors and minimal signage, the kind of place that whispered wealth without shouting it. She stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, staring up at the sleek facade, Daniel's words still ringing in her ears. "I hope he's worth it." Was he? Was any of this worth the devastation she'd left in her wake? Lily's phone buzzed with another text from Adrian. "Penthouse. Code is 4729. She entered the building and found herself in a minimalist lobby, concrete floors, exposed brick, a single elevator with a keypad. She punched in the code and the doors slid open silently. The ride up was smooth and quick, her stomach dropping as much from the ascent as from nerves. When the elevator opened directly into Adrian's apartment, Lily's breath caught. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Hudson River, the morning light streaming in and painting everything in shades of gold. The space was enormous, open concept with exposed beams and ductwork, hardwood floors and furniture that managed to be both masculine and refined. Everything about it screamed Adrian, controlled, powerful. But underneath, there were small touches that surprised her. Books stacked on the coffee table, a worn leather jacket draped over a chair, a half-empty glass of whiskey on the kitchen counter. Adrian stood by the windows, his back to her, hands in his pockets. He was dressed casually, dark jeans and a fitted black shirt, and somehow that made him seem more dangerous, less corporate titan, more something primal. "How bad was it?" he asked without turning around. Lily set her purse on the entry table, her hands shaking. "He hates me. He has every right to." Adrian turned then, his expression unreadable. "Did you tell him about us?" "I told him there was someone else, that I'd been in love with you before I met him." Lily's voice cracked. "He said I used him, and he was right." "You didn't use him," Adrian said, moving toward her. "You tried to move on. That's different." "Is it?" Lily wrapped her arms around herself. "I wore his ring, Adrian. I let him plan a future with me knowing my heart wasn't in it. That's not trying to move on. That's lying." Adrian stopped a few feet away, studying her. "You're not going to let yourself have this, are you? Even now, even after you chose me, you're going to punish yourself for hurting him." "Someone should," Lily said bitterly. "Daniel didn't deserve what I did to him." "No, he didn't." Adrian's bluntness surprised her. "He deserved honesty from the beginning, but beating yourself up won't change what happened. It'll just make you miserable." Lily looked up at him, anger flaring. "How are you so calm about this? You just blew up my engagement, destroyed a good man's faith in love. Doesn't that bother you at all?" "Of course it bothers me," Adrian said, his jaw tightening. "I'm not a sociopath, Lily, but I'm also not going to pretend I'm sorry you're not marrying him. I fought for you. I told you the truth about how I feel. What you did with that information was your choice. You made it impossible to choose anything else." The words burst out of her, raw and accusatory. "You kissed me. You told me I was yours. You demanded I take off his ring. How was I supposed to—" "I never forced you to do anything," Adrian cut in, his voice hard. "Every step of this, every choice, was yours. You could have told me to go to hell. You could have blocked my number and married Daniel and never looked back. But you didn't. You came to my office last night. You took off his ring. You're here now. So stop acting like I manipulated you into this and own your decision." The truth of it hit Lily like cold water. He was right. She'd made every choice that led to this moment, and now she was trying to blame him for her own cowardice, her own inability to be honest with Daniel from the start. "I'm scared," she whispered, the admission costing her. "I'm scared that I just destroyed the one safe thing in my life for something that might fall apart the moment it gets difficult." Adrian's expression softened. He closed the distance between them, his hands coming up to frame her face. "Then let me make you a promise. I'm going to hurt you, Lily. Not intentionally, but it'll happen. We're going to fight. There will be days when you hate me, when you question this decision. But I will never lie to you. I will never make you doubt that you're mine, and I will never push you away again. Lily's eyes burned with unshed tears. How can you promise that? Because losing you once nearly destroyed me. I'm not doing it again. His thumbs brushed away the tears that escaped down her cheeks. I know I'm asking you to risk everything. I know my world is dangerous and complicated, but I'm offering you something Daniel never could. All of me. The good, the bad, the parts I don't show anyone else. If you can handle that, if you can stand beside me in this life, then we'll build something neither of us could have alone. Lily searched his eyes, looking for any hint of doubt or deception. All she found was raw, unflinching honesty. Adrian wasn't offering her safety or certainty. He was offering her truth. And somehow, that was more valuable than any promise of happily ever after. I need you to understand something, Lily said quietly. I'm not going to be just your secretary anymore. If we do this, if I choose this life with you, I'm your equal. Not your employee. Not someone you protect and hide away. Your partner. A slow smile curved Adrian's lips. I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm serious, Adrian. I've spent 2 years being invisible in your world. If we're together, that changes. I stand beside you, not behind you. Noted. Adrian's smile widened. Anything else? Yes. Lily straightened, finding her strength. You don't get to make unilateral decisions about my safety or what I can handle. You don't get to push me away every time things get dangerous. We face things together, or this doesn't work. Adrian's expression grew serious. My enemies won't hesitate to use you against me. Then teach me how to protect myself. Bring me into your world properly instead of trying to shield me from it. Lily held his gaze. I know what I'm signing up for, Adrian. I'm not naive, but I'm also not fragile. Stop treating me like I'll break. For a long moment, Adrian just looked at her. Then he pulled her into his arms, crushing her against his chest. You're going to be the death of me, he murmured into her hair. Lily wrapped her arms around him, breathing in his scent, letting herself finally fully give in to what she'd been fighting for so long. Probably. Adrian pulled back just enough to look at her, his hand sliding to the nape of her neck. No more running? No more running, Lily confirmed. He kissed her then, and it was different from every kiss before. This one was a promise, a claiming, the start of something that couldn't be undone. Lily kissed him back with everything she had, pouring 2 years of longing and frustration and love into it. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. Stay with me today. Let the world wait. Lily nodded, unable to form words. They moved to the couch, and Adrian pulled her into his arms, her back against his chest. They sat in silence for a long time, watching the river flow past the windows, the city waking up around them. Tell me about your world, Lily said finally. The parts you've been hiding from me. Adrian's arms tightened around her. Are you sure you want to know? I need to know. All of it. So Adrian told her. About the deals that weren't entirely legal, the competitors who'd tried to take him down, the enemies he'd made climbing to the top of an industry built on ambition and ruthlessness. He told her about the security he kept around himself at all times, the threats he received regularly, the careful balance he maintained between legitimate business and the gray areas that funded his empire. Lily listened without judgment, processing each revelation. None of it shocked her. She'd always known Adrian operated in shadows. But hearing the details, understanding the full scope of what being with him meant, made everything more real. I have resources, Adrian said. Security, lawyers, people who handle the uglier aspects of my business so I can stay clean. But there are always risks. Always people who would hurt you to get to me. Then we make sure they can't, Lily said simply. Adrian turned her in his arms, his eyes searching hers. You're really not afraid? I'm terrified, Lily admitted, but not of your enemies. I'm afraid of wasting more time pretending we can live without each other. Something in Adrian's expression cracked, that careful control he wore like armor. He kissed her again, deeper this time, his hands tangling in her hair. Lily responded with equal fervor, her fingers sliding beneath his shirt to trace the hard planes of his chest. Lily, Adrian breathed against her lips, his voice rough with warning. If we do this now, there's no going back. Good, Lily said, pulling him closer. I don't want to go back. What happened next was inevitable. 2 years of denial, of carefully maintained distance, of pretending they didn't affect each other. It all shattered. Adrian lifted her, carrying her to his bedroom, and Lily let herself be claimed completely. Not as his secretary, not as someone's convenient fiancée, as herself. As the woman who loved him despite the risks, despite the danger, despite every logical reason to run. Afterwards, they lay tangled in Adrian's sheets, the afternoon sun streaming through the windows. Lily traced patterns on Adrian's chest, her mind quiet for the first time in weeks. What happens now? She asked softly. Adrian's fingers ran through her hair. Now we figure out how to build a life together, starting with getting you out of that apartment and into somewhere safer. Lily propped herself up on one elbow, raising an eyebrow. You're not moving me into your fortress without asking first. I'm not asking, Adrian said, but there was amusement in his eyes. I'm telling you that your apartment has terrible security, and if you're going to be with me, you need to be somewhere I can protect you. See, this is what I was talking about, Lily said, poking his chest. Unilateral decisions. I get a say in where I live, Adrian. Fine. Do you want to live somewhere with terrible security where any of my enemies could get to you, or do you want to live somewhere safe? I want to live somewhere I choose, Lily countered. Even if that somewhere happens to be here, I want it to be my choice, not yours. Adrian studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, your choice, but make it soon. Demanding as always, Lily murmured, but she was smiling. You love it, Adrian said, pulling her back down against him. The truth was, she did. She loved his intensity, his possessiveness, the way he fought for what he wanted. It was the opposite of Daniel's easy acceptance, his willingness to let her keep her distance. Adrian demanded everything from her: honesty, presence, fire. And for the first time, Lily was ready to give it. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She reached for it, her stomach clenching when she saw Mara's name. Daniel just called me. He's a mess, Lily. Please tell me you know what you're doing. Guilt crashed over her again, sharp and painful. She'd been so caught up in Adrian, in the intensity of finally being together, that she'd almost forgotten the wreckage she'd left behind. Daniel called Mara, she told Adrian quietly. Adrian's expression hardened. What did he say? I don't know, but she wants to know if I know what I'm doing. Lily looked at him, vulnerability showing through. Do I? That's not a question I can answer for you, Adrian said. Only you know if this is worth it. Lily set the phone down without responding to Mara's text. She'd deal with her best friend's judgment later. Right now, she needed to be certain of her own choice before she could defend it to anyone else. I need to go into the office tomorrow, she said. Face everyone. There will be questions. Let them question, Adrian said, or better yet, quit. Come work for me in a different capacity. Lily sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. What capacity? Partner. Not in the romantic sense, in the business sense. Adrian sat up beside her, his expression serious. You're wasted as a secretary, Lily. You have a mind for strategy, for seeing angles other people miss. I want you beside me in boardrooms, in negotiations, as my equal. Lily's heart stuttered. You're offering me a position? I'm offering you power, a seat at the table, a chance to build something with me, not just support me from the sidelines. Adrian's hand found hers, but only if you want it. I won't force you into anything. For the first time since leaving Daniel at the cafe, Lily felt something other than guilt. She felt possibility, hope, the chance to be more than she'd ever been before. I want it, she said, but I keep my independence. I'm not going to be known as the boss's girlfriend who got handed a position she didn't earn. Then earn it, Adrian challenged. Prove to everyone that you deserve to be there. I'll give you the opportunity, but you'll have to fight for the respect. Lily smiled, sharp and determined. Done. They spent the rest of the day in Adrian's apartment, talking through logistics, how to handle the office gossip that would inevitably follow, how to structure Lily's new role so it was clear she wasn't just Adrian's lover playing at business, how to manage the security concerns that came with her new position in Adrian's life. By the time evening fell, Lily felt steadier. The guilt over Daniel was still there. It would probably always be there, but it no longer threatened to drown her. She'd made her choice. Now she had to live with it. "I should go home," she said reluctantly as they finished dinner. "Takeout eaten on the couch while watching the city lights come on. I need to deal with my apartment, pack some things." "Stay," Adrian said. "I'll have someone pack your apartment tomorrow. Stay here tonight." Lily started to argue, then stopped. What was the point? She didn't want to go back to her empty apartment, didn't want to be alone with her thoughts, and Adrian was offering her exactly what she needed: safety, presence, the certainty that she wasn't facing this alone. "Okay," she said softly. Adrian smiled, pulling her closer. "That's my girl." They went to bed early, exhausted from the emotional weight of the day. Lily fell asleep in Adrian's arms, feeling more at peace than she had in months. For the first time since her confession 3 months ago, she felt like she was exactly where she belonged. But peace never lasted long in Adrian Vale's world. Lily woke to her phone ringing at 2 in the morning. She fumbled for it in the dark, Adrian stirring beside her. "Hello?" she mumbled, still half asleep. "Lily Carter?" An unfamiliar male voice. "Yes. Who is this?" "Someone who knows you're fucking Adrian Vale." The voice was cold, mechanical. "Tell your boyfriend that taking what belongs to Constantine has consequences. He'll understand." The line went dead. Lily sat up, her heart pounding, the phone trembling in her hand. Adrian was already awake, his expression dark and dangerous in the dim light. "What did they say?" he demanded. Lily repeated the message, her voice shaking. Adrian's jaw clenched, fury radiating from him in waves. "Constantine," he bit out. "That bastard." "Who?" "A competitor, someone I outbid on a major deal 6 months ago." Adrian was already moving, pulling on clothes. "He's been looking for leverage ever since, and now he thinks you're it." Fear shot through Lily. "They threatened me because of you." "They threatened you to get to me," Adrian corrected. "There's a difference. But it doesn't matter. They just made their last mistake." Lily watched Adrian transform before her eyes, from the lover who'd held her gently hours ago to something harder, colder. The man who'd built an empire on ruthlessness and strategy. This was the world she'd chosen. And now she was about to see exactly what that meant. "What are you going to do?" she asked. Adrian turned to look at her, his eyes burning with protective fury. "I'm going to make sure everyone knows that touching you means war. And then I'm going to destroy Constantine so thoroughly that no one else will be stupid enough to try." Lily should have been frightened, should have questioned whether this was the life she really wanted. Instead, she felt something else entirely, a fierce, burning certainty that she'd made the right choice. Because Adrian wasn't offering her safety, he was offering her power, the chance to stand beside him and fight. And Lily realized, as she watched him make calls in the middle of the night to mobilize his security team, that safety had never been what she really wanted. She wanted this, the intensity, the challenge, the knowledge that she mattered enough to someone that they'd go to war for her. "What do you need me to do?" she asked. Adrian paused, looking at her with something like pride. "Get dressed. We're going to my office. If Constantine wants a war, we're going to give him one. Together." Lily dressed quickly, her fear transforming into determination. This was her life now, and she was done being afraid of it. When they left Adrian's apartment an hour later, surrounded by security guards Lily hadn't even known existed, she felt the weight of her choice settle over her shoulders. There was no going back to her safe, predictable life. No returning to the woman who'd worn Daniel's ring and pretended she could be content with comfort. She was Adrian Vale's partner now, in business, in love, in war. And she was ready for all of it. The car sped through the empty streets toward Vale Industries, and Lily looked over at Adrian. His jaw was set, his eyes focused on something she couldn't see. He was already 10 steps ahead, planning his counterattack. "Tell me what you need," Lily said, her voice steady. Adrian's hand found hers in the dark. "I need you to trust me, and I need you to be ready for what comes next." "I'm ready," Lily said, and she meant it. Because love wasn't about safety. It was about choosing someone and fighting for them, even when the world tried to tear you apart. It was about standing beside them in the darkness and refusing to run. Lily had spent 2 years loving Adrian from the shadows. Now she was going to love him in the light. And whoever tried to use that against them would learn a very painful lesson. She'd chosen love over safety, and she wasn't going to regret it. Not now, not ever. Vale Industries. At 3 in the morning was a different beast entirely. The building that bustled with executives and assistants during daylight hours now stood silent and imposing, lit only by emergency lighting and the glow of the city beyond its windows. Security guards snapped to attention as Adrian strode through the lobby with Lily at his side, his presence alone enough to command respect even in the dead of night. The elevator ride to the executive floor was tense and silent. Adrian's hand remained at the small of Lily's back, a gesture that was both possessive and protective. She could feel the coiled energy radiating from him, the barely controlled fury that simmered beneath his calm exterior. This was Adrian in his element, dangerous, calculating, ready to destroy anyone who threatened what was his. And Lily was his now. Completely, irrevocably. When they entered Adrian's office, he immediately went to his desk and pulled out his phone, making a call. "Marcus, I need everything you have on Konstantin Volkov. Financial records, business dealings, personal connections, everything. I want it on my desk in 2 hours." He paused, listening. "I don't care if it's the middle of the night. Wake up whoever you need to wake up. This is priority 1. Lily watched him work, fascinated by the transformation. This wasn't the man who'd held her tenderly just hours ago. This was the corporate predator who'd built an empire from nothing, who'd crushed competitors and absorbed their companies without mercy. And now that predator was unleashed on her behalf. Adrian ended the call and turned to her, his expression softening slightly. "Sit down. This is going to be a long night." "Tell me about Konstantin," Lily said, settling into one of the leather chairs facing his desk. "What am I dealing with?" Adrian leaned against his desk, arms crossed. "Konstantin Volkov. Russian oligarch, second generation. He made his fortune in shipping and commercial real estate. 6 months ago, we both bid on a major development project in Lower Manhattan. Luxury condos, commercial space, the works. The city council was supposed to choose him. They'd been in negotiations for months. "But you won," Lily said. "I won because I offered them something Konstantin couldn't. A commitment to affordable housing units, tax revenue, and a cleaner development plan. The council went with me, and Konstantin lost a deal he'd been counting on." Adrian's jaw tightened. "He's been looking for revenge ever since. Small things at first, trying to poach my clients, spreading rumors, attempting hostile takeovers of companies I work with. But this, threatening you, that's an escalation." "Why now?" Lily asked. "How did he even know about me?" "Because I stopped being careful." Adrian ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "I've been too visible with you these past few weeks. The car service picking you up. The meetings where I deferred to your judgment. People talk, Lily, and in my world, showing that someone matters to you is the same as painting a target on their back." Lily absorbed this, understanding the full weight of what being with Adrian meant. "So what do we do?" "We remove the threat." Adrian's voice was cold, final, completely. Before Lily could respond, Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then moved to his computer, typing rapidly. "Marcus works fast. He's already sent preliminary information." Lily stood and moved behind Adrian's desk, looking over his shoulder at the screen. Financial records, business partnerships, property holdings, all of Konstantin's empire laid bare in spreadsheets and reports. "Here," Adrian said, pointing to a series of transactions. "He's been funneling money through shell companies to avoid taxes. And here," he clicked to another document. "He's in debt. Heavily. That development deal he lost? He'd already borrowed against it. Without it, he's overextended." "So he's desperate," Lily observed. "Desperate men make stupid decisions, like threatening you." Adrian's hand found hers, squeezing gently. "But desperate men are also vulnerable. We just need to find the right pressure point." They spent the next hour poring over the information Marcus sent, piecing together Konstantin's financial situation. Adrian explained each document, each connection, treating Lily like the partner he'd promised she would be. He didn't shield her from the uglier aspects of what they were doing. Instead, he showed her exactly how power worked in his world, through information, leverage, and the willingness to use both without mercy. "There," Lily said suddenly, pointing to a document on the screen. "That warehouse in Brooklyn, it's listed under one of his shell companies, but the property taxes haven't been paid in 18 months. Adrian leaned in, studying the document. A slow smile spread across his face. You're right. And if I'm reading this correctly, that property is being used as collateral for at least 3 different loans. He looked at her with something like pride. Good catch. What does it mean? Lily asked. It means Constantine is playing a very dangerous game with very angry people. If those loans default, he loses everything. Adrian was already pulling up more information, his fingers flying across the keyboard. And if we can prove the property isn't worth what he claimed it was worth when he used it as collateral, he goes down, Lily finished, understanding dawning. Not just down. He gets destroyed. Adrian picked up his phone again. Marcus, I need a property assessment on the warehouse at 547 West Street in Brooklyn. Current market value, not the inflated number Constantine's been using. And I need it before dawn. When he hung up, Lily asked the question that had been nagging at her. Is this legal, what we're doing? Adrian met her eyes, his expression serious. We're not doing anything illegal. We're gathering information that's publicly available and using it to protect ourselves. What Constantine did, fraudulent property valuations, tax evasion, that's illegal. We're just making sure the right people find out about it. So we're not destroying him. We're just illuminating his mistakes. Exactly. Adrian pulled her into his arms. I told you I wouldn't lie to you, Lily. I won't. But I also won't let anyone threaten you without consequences. This is the world I live in. Information is currency, and I know how to spend it. Lily rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. This should have frightened her, the cold calculation, the willingness to destroy someone's entire livelihood. But instead she felt safe, protected. Adrian wasn't just talking about defending her. He was showing her exactly how he planned to do it. What happens after this? She asked quietly. After Constantine is dealt with, do we just wait for the next threat? No. Adrian's arms tightened around her. We make an example. We show everyone in this city that coming after what's mine has consequences so severe that no one will dare try it again. The possessiveness in his tone sent heat through Lily's veins. And what am I? A possession. Adrian pulled back to look at her, his eyes intense. You're mine, but I'm also yours. That's how this works, Lily. We claim each other. We protect each other. We destroy anyone who tries to tear us apart. Lily reached up, pulling his face down to hers. Good, because I'm done being passive. I'm done watching from the sidelines. If someone comes after me, I want to be the one who takes them down. Adrian's smile was sharp and dangerous. Then let's teach you how. They worked through the night, Adrian showing Lily the intricacies of corporate warfare, how to read financial statements for weaknesses, how to trace money through shell companies, how to identify leverage points and exploit them. It was a masterclass in power, and Lily absorbed every lesson hungrily. By the time the sun rose over Manhattan, they had a complete picture of Constantine's vulnerabilities. More importantly, they had a plan. We leaked the property assessment to his lenders, Adrian said, laying out the strategy. They'll demand immediate repayment. When he can't pay, they'll seize his assets. That starts a chain reaction. Other creditors will panic, his business partners will distance themselves, and within a week, he'll be toxic. No one will work with him. And the threatening phone call? Lily asked. We make sure the FBI knows about it. Harassment, potential extortion, that'll keep him busy with legal problems while his financial empire collapses. Adrian looked at her. By the time we're done, Constantine won't have the resources or the credibility to threaten anyone. It was ruthless, efficient, absolutely devastating, and Lily loved every second of it. When do we start? She asked. Adrian's phone buzzed with an incoming email. He glanced at it, then smiled. Right now. Marcus just sent the property assessment. It's even worse than we thought. The warehouse is worth about 40% of what Constantine claimed. Then let's burn his world down, Lily said. Adrian kissed her, hard and claiming, That's my girl. The next 72 hours were a blur of coordinated strikes. Adrian made calls to Constantine's lenders, anonymously tipping them off to the discrepancies in his property valuations. Lily worked with Adrian's legal team to file a formal complaint with the FBI about the threatening phone call, complete with phone records and voice analysis. They leaked information to business journalists, planting seeds of doubt about Constantine's financial stability. And they watched as it all came crashing down. The first domino fell when Constantine's primary lender demanded immediate repayment of his loans. When he couldn't pay, they seized the Brooklyn warehouse and 3 other properties he'd used as collateral. That triggered panic among his other creditors, who started calling in their debts. Within 48 hours, Constantine was in freefall. Business partners severed ties. The FBI opened an investigation into his financial dealings. His reputation, carefully built over decades, shattered in less than a week. And through it all, Adrian and Lily stood together, watching the destruction they'd orchestrated with cold satisfaction. "He's done," Marcus reported on the 3rd day, standing in Adrian's office. "His assets are frozen, his business partners have jumped ship, and the FBI is building a case for fraud and tax evasion. He won't recover from this." "Good," Adrian said simply. "Make sure everyone knows why this happened. I want it clear that threatening me or mine has consequences." Marcus nodded and left. When they were alone, Adrian turned to Lily. "How do you feel?" Lily considered the question. She should feel guilty. She'd just helped destroy a man's entire life. But when she searched her conscience, all she found was satisfaction. Constantine had threatened her, had tried to use her as a pawn in his vendetta against Adrian, and now he was paying the price. "I feel powerful," she said honestly. Adrian smiled, pulling her close. "You are powerful. You always were. You just needed the right arena to show it." That afternoon, Adrian called a meeting of his senior executives. Lily walked into the conference room at his side, her head held high. The whispers started immediately. Everyone knew about her broken engagement, her relationship with Adrian, but no one dared say anything directly. Adrian didn't bother with pleasantries. He got straight to the point. "Some of you may have heard rumors about my personal life. Let me clarify them now. Lily Carter is no longer my assistant. Effective immediately, she's my business partner and strategic advisor. She'll have full access to all projects and will represent Vail Industries in select negotiations." He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. "Anyone who has a problem with that can leave now." Silence. No one moved. "Good. Now, on to the Constantine situation." Adrian proceeded to outline what had happened, how the threat had been neutralized, and what it meant for the company going forward. He didn't hide Lily's involvement. Instead, he highlighted it, making it clear that she'd been instrumental in identifying Constantine's weaknesses. By the time the meeting ended, Lily had earned something she'd never had before: respect. The executives who'd seen her as nothing more than Adrian's assistant now looked at her with wary consideration. She wasn't just the boss's girlfriend. She was someone who could destroy you if you crossed her. As they left the conference room, Adrian leaned close. "How does it feel to be feared?" "Intoxicating," Lily admitted. Over the following weeks, Lily settled into her new role. Adrian was true to his word. He treated her as an equal partner, bringing her into high-stakes negotiations and asking for her strategic input. She proved herself quickly, her sharp mind and ability to read people making her a valuable asset. But it wasn't all business. Adrian also showed her the softer side of his world: the charity galas, the art auctions, the exclusive dinners where deals were made over wine and whispered conversations. He introduced her to his inner circle, making it clear that she wasn't just a passing interest. She was permanent. And with each introduction, each public appearance, Lily felt herself transforming. She was no longer the invisible secretary who'd pined for her boss from the shadows. She was Adrian Vail's partner, his equal, someone powerful in her own right. The gossip columns had a field day with them. "Vail's new power couple," one headline read. "From secretary to strategic partner, the rise of Lily Carter," declared another. Some articles were kind. Others were vicious, suggesting she'd slept her way to the top. Lily learned to ignore them. Let them talk. She knew the truth. She'd earned her place through intelligence and strategy, not seduction. One evening, about 3 weeks after Constantine's fall, Adrian took Lily to dinner at an exclusive restaurant overlooking Central Park. They'd settled into a comfortable rhythm, working together during the day, coming home to each other at night. Lily had moved into Adrian's apartment without fanfare, her old life packed away and forgotten. "I have something for you," Adrian said over dessert. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and set it on the table between them. Lily's heart stuttered. It was too soon. They'd barely been together a month. She wasn't ready for— "It's not what you think," Adrian said, reading her expression. "Open it." Lily lifted the lid and found not an engagement ring, but a key. Platinum, intricately designed with the Vale Industries logo etched into it. "What is this?" she asked. "A key to my private office. Full access, anytime." Adrian's expression was serious. "I told you I'd make you my partner. This makes it official. You have access to everything now. My files, my accounts, my secrets. Complete trust." Lily stared at the key, understanding the weight of what Adrian was offering. In his world, information was power, and he was giving her access to all of it. "Adrian," she breathed. "I love you, Lily." The words were simple, direct, devastating in their honesty. "I should have said it months ago, years ago, but I'm saying it now. I love you, and I trust you with everything I have." Lily's eyes burned with tears. "I love you too. I never stopped." Adrian reached across the table, taking her hand. "I know we've only been together officially for a few weeks. I know it's fast, but I also know I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So I'm not asking you to marry me tonight, but I'm asking you to build an empire with me, to stand beside me and create something neither of us could alone." "Yes," Lily said without hesitation. "To all of it." "Yes." They left the restaurant hand in hand, stepping into the cool autumn evening. The city sparkled around them, full of possibility and danger and opportunity. Lily looked at Adrian, this complicated, ruthless, brilliant man who'd chosen her, and felt something settle in her chest. This was home. Not a place, but a person. A partnership. A choice she'd made and would keep making every day for the rest of her life. 2 weeks later, Lily received an unexpected visitor at the Vale Industries office. Daniel Hayes stood in the reception area, looking uncomfortable and out of place among the steel and glass. Lily's stomach dropped when she saw him. She hadn't spoken to him since that terrible morning in the cafe, hadn't known what to say, how to apologize for the devastation she'd caused. "Daniel," she said quietly, approaching him, "what are you doing here?" He looked at her and she saw that the anger had faded from his eyes. What remained was sadness, and something that looked like acceptance. "I needed closure," he said. "Can we talk? Just for a few minutes." Lily led him to a private conference room, her heart heavy with guilt. They sat across from each other, the silence stretching uncomfortably. "I'm sorry," Lily said finally. "I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am. You deserved better than what I gave you." Daniel nodded slowly. "You're right, I did. But I've been thinking a lot these past few weeks, and I realized something. You weren't the only one who wasn't being honest." Lily frowned. "What do you mean?" "I knew," Daniel said quietly. "Deep down, I knew you didn't love me the way I loved you. I saw the way you looked when you thought I wasn't watching, the distance you kept. But I convinced myself that if I just loved you enough, it would be enough for both of us." He met her eyes. "I was using you too, Lily, as proof that I could have the perfect life, the beautiful fiancé, the planned future. But it was never real." Lily's throat tightened. "I should have been honest from the beginning." "Yeah, you should have. But I should have been brave enough to ask the hard questions." Daniel smiled sadly. "We both made mistakes. The difference is, you were brave enough to fix yours before it was too late." "I'm sorry I hurt you," Lily said, tears streaming down her face. "I know, and I forgive you." Daniel stood, extending his hand. "I hope he makes you happy, Lily. I hope it was worth it." Lily shook his hand, grateful for his grace, even as her heart ached for the pain she'd caused. "It was. He is." Daniel nodded and left without another word. Lily stayed in the conference room for a long time, processing the conversation. She'd expected anger, accusations, bitterness. Instead, Daniel had given her forgiveness and closure. It didn't erase her guilt completely, but it helped. When she returned to her office, she found Adrian waiting for her. He took one look at her tear-stained face and pulled her into his arms. "Daniel came to see me," she said against his chest. "I know. Security alerted me." Adrian's arms tightened around her. "Are you okay?" "I am. He forgave me." Lily pulled back to look at Adrian. He deserved so much better than what I gave him. He deserved honesty, and eventually he got it. Adrian brushed a tear from her cheek. Don't punish yourself forever, Lily. You made the right choice, for both of you. Lily nodded, taking comfort in his certainty. Adrian was right. Staying with Daniel would have been crueler in the long run. At least this way, they both had a chance at something real. That night, Adrian surprised her with dinner at his apartment. Not takeout, but a home-cooked meal he'd prepared himself. You cook? Lily asked, amazed. I have many hidden talents, Adrian said with a grin. Sit, eat. We're celebrating. Celebrating what? Us. The fact that we survived our first major crisis. The fact that you handled Daniel with grace. The fact that I get to come home to you every night. Adrian raised his wine glass. To new beginnings. Lily clinked her glass against his. To new beginnings. As they ate, Adrian became serious. I've been thinking about something. About us and what comes next. Lily's heart skipped. Okay. I want to marry you, Lily. Not now. I know it's too soon after everything with Daniel, but eventually, when you're ready, I want you to be my wife, not just my partner. He paused. But I need you to know that whether we get married tomorrow or in 5 years, you're it for me. There's no one else. There will never be anyone else. Lily set down her fork, her hands trembling. I want that too, all of it. But you're right. I need time. Not because I have doubts, but because I need to do this right. I need to be whole on my own before I can be whole with you. Take all the time you need, Adrian said. I'm not going anywhere. 3 months later, on a cold December evening, Adrian and Lily hosted their first joint charity event, a gala benefiting youth programs in underserved communities. It was Lily's idea, her way of using Adrian's resources and connections for something meaningful. The event was a massive success, raising over $2 million in a single night. But more importantly, it established Lily as a force in her own right. She wasn't just Adrian Vale's girlfriend. She was a philanthropist, a strategist, a woman with her own vision for how to use power for good. As the evening wound down, Adrian found her on the terrace, looking out over the glittering city. You did well tonight, he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. We did well, Lily corrected. This was both of us. No, this was you. Your vision, your passion, your execution. I just wrote the checks. Adrian kissed her temple. You're incredible, you know that? Lily leaned back against him, feeling content in a way she'd never experienced before. I'm happy. For the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. So am I, Adrian murmured. They stood there in comfortable silence, watching the city that had brought them together. Lily thought about the journey that had led her here, the confession that had started it all, the heartbreak, the impossible choice, the risks she'd taken. It had all been worth it. 2 weeks before Christmas, Adrian took Lily back to the office where everything had begun. It was late evening, the building empty except for them. Why are we here? Lily asked as they stepped into Adrian's office. Adrian didn't answer immediately. Instead, he led her to the spot where she'd stood 3 months ago, where she'd taken off Daniel's ring and chosen him. I wanted to do this right, Adrian said, pulling a small box from his pocket. In the place where we started, where you were brave enough to choose love over safety. Lily's breath caught as Adrian dropped to one knee. Lily Carter, you are the strongest, most brilliant woman I've ever known. You challenged me, changed me, made me want to be better than I was. I love you more than I thought I was capable of loving anyone. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that choosing me was the right decision. He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring. Will you marry me? Lily didn't hesitate. Yes. 1,000 times, yes. Adrian slipped the ring onto her finger, the same finger that had once worn Daniel's ring, but this time it felt right. Perfect. Like coming home. He stood and kissed her, and Lily felt the last piece of her old life fall away. She was no longer the invisible secretary who'd loved her boss from the shadows. She was Lily Carter, Adrian Vale's equal, his partner, his future wife. They married a month later in a private ceremony with only their closest friends and family. No fanfare, no publicity, just a simple exchange of vows that meant everything. Lily wore a sleek ivory dress, her hair loose around her shoulders. Adrian wore a dark suit, his eyes never leaving hers throughout the ceremony. When the officiant pronounced them married, Adrian kissed her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. Because to him, she was. Their honeymoon was brief, just a long weekend in the Caribbean, because neither of them could bear to be away from the empire they were building together. When they returned to New York, it was as Mr. and Mrs. Vale, ready to take on whatever came next. And plenty came. Competitors who thought they could exploit the new partnership. Business deals that went sideways. Threats from people who saw Lily as Adrian's weakness, but they faced it all together. Lily proved again and again that she wasn't a liability. She was an asset. Her strategic mind, her ability to read people, her willingness to fight, it all made her invaluable. She wasn't Adrian's weakness. She was his strength. Within 6 months of their marriage, Lily had established her own reputation in the business world. She took the lead on several major acquisitions, negotiated deals that even Adrian admitted he couldn't have closed, and earned the respect of competitors and allies alike. She also started a foundation focused on helping young women from disadvantaged backgrounds get access to education and career opportunities. It was her way of paying forward the chance Adrian had given her to be more than what the world expected. The foundation's first scholarship recipient was a young woman from Brooklyn who reminded Lily of herself, smart, ambitious, invisible. Lily personally mentored her, showing her that she didn't have to settle for being someone's assistant. She could be the boss. One evening, almost a year after their wedding, Lily and Adrian sat in their apartment reviewing the foundation's first annual report. 20 scholarships awarded, 15 mentorship partnerships established, countless lives changed. "You did this," Adrian said, looking at her with undisguised pride. "You took the power I gave you and used it to change the world." "We did this," Lily corrected. "I couldn't have done any of it without you." "You could have?" Adrian said seriously. "You were always capable of this, Lily. I just gave you the opportunity. You did the rest." Lily set down the report and moved to sit in Adrian's lap, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Do you ever regret it? Fighting for me? The complications I brought into your life?" "Never." Adrian's hand settled on her waist. "You're the best decision I ever made. Even when you're challenging me, arguing with me, refusing to back down, especially then. You make me better, Lily. You always have." "I love you," Lily said softly. "I love you too," Adrian replied. "More than anything." They sat there in comfortable silence, two people who'd fought for each other and won. Lily thought about the journey that had brought them here. The confession, the heartbreak, the impossible choices, the risks. Every step had been worth it. Because love wasn't about safety. It was about choosing someone and fighting for them, even when the world tried to tear you apart. It was about building something together that neither could have built alone. Lily Carter, now Lily Vale, had started as an invisible secretary in love with her boss. She'd ended as a powerful woman in her own right, married to her equal, building an empire that would change lives. She'd chosen love over safety, passion over comfort, risk over certainty, and she'd never been happier. As the city lights sparkled beyond their windows and Adrian held her close, Lily knew, with absolute certainty, that this was exactly where she belonged. Not because it was safe, not because it was easy, but because it was real. And real was worth fighting for. Always.